Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines tonight. The day after 5 Assam police personnel were killed, tension high on the Assam-Mizoram border. The Assam Chief Minister tweets a video of Mizoram cops celebrating after the policemen were killed. He says that 4,000 commandos will now be deployed at the state border. Both Chief Ministers tweet the Home Minister, but no official response from Amit Shah yet. After B.S. Yediyurappa, who will be next BJP Chief Minister? Two ministers currently in Bengaluru meeting BJP MLAs on the new Chief Minister. Reports say that Home Minister Basavaraj Bommai is the front runner. He is a close Yediyurappa confidant and also a Lingayat leader. The International Monetary Fund downgrades India's growth projections, cut to 9.5% for the year 2021-22. The growth downgraded, says the IMF, after a severe second wave. India, however, is still the highest amongst big emerging economies. The Namaste after Didi or Didi acrimony. The Prime Minister and the West Bengal Chief Minister meet in Delhi. Mamata Banerjee to meet Sonia Gandhi tomorrow as well. 10 adjournments in Parliament today. One bill is passed in the chaos. The Prime Minister tells BJP MPs the Congress is to blame for disruptions and that the MPs must highlight these opposition tactics. Meanwhile, key opposition floor leaders meet today and say they will be united in their demands to the government for a discussion on all issues, including Pegasus. We are tired. The virus is not a government warning, as there is a slight increase in the reproduction of the infectious rate, saying that Kerala and northeast states are a worry with rising cases. Opening schools a tightrope walk. Follow all SOPs, says the government. In Mumbai, a doctor who got COVID thrice. News of this young doctor who tested positive 3 times even after she was vaccinated. And heavy rainfall in the National Capital Region. 100 millimeters rain in Delhi. That's a record since 2003. Our lead story tonight. The day after 5 Assam police personnel were killed, tension remains extremely high, with the Assam Chief Minister there and attending the funeral of the 5 police personnel who were killed in firing allegedly by Mizoram police forces. The Assam Chief Minister said that commandos will now be deployed at the state border. Both he and the Mizoram Chief Minister, of course one BJP, the other BJP ally, have tweeted the Home Minister asking for intervention, but there's been no official response.
A furious Assam Chief Minister tweeted this video, saying, after killing 5 Assam police personnel and injuring many, this is how Mizoram police and goons are celebrating. The shocking, unprecedented, fatal encounter, not an insurgency, but between 2 Indian states over a decades-old border dispute. Both state governments are political allies. But Assam's BJP Chief Minister, who rushed to ground zero, hit out at his Mizoram counterpart Zoramthanga, a BJP ally.
This is not a political issue. This is a long-standing border dispute. When Buddha's side Congress government was there, that point of time also that this dispute was there.
Assam accuses Mizoram of using machine guns and starting the battle, and Mizoram's ruling party blames Assam.
The act of aggression was started by the Assam police only. It is the Assam police only which went with a huge contingent of around 200 policemen with senior officers, and they had every intention of provoking a fight out there.
But what led to this shocking incident? The dispute is over demarcation of state border. Both lay claim to a piece of land on the border between Assam's Kachar district and Mizoram's Kolasib district. Both sides accuse each other of encroachment. The dispute originates from 2 border notifications issued during British rule. Assam and Mizoram have disputes over 2 other border points.
This is the main national highway that links Silchar in Assam to Mizoram's capital Aizawl, a 180-kilometer drive up this hill. You can see here the central paramilitary force guarding this stretch of the disputed border. This is where the Monday clashes took place. On one side of the border, you have Assam's last village, Lailapur, and on other side, a few kilometers up the hill, you have Mizoram's first town, Vairangte. And now this stretch has become a bone of contention between the two states and a food for thoughts for the centre.
Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma attended the final farewell for the 5 policemen. He announced a 3-day state mourning and ordered 3,000 commandos at the borders with Mizoram soon. The gun battle between the two states came just 2 days after Union Home Ministers meeting with all the Northeast Chief Ministers. The Union Home Ministry today stated in Parliament that the approach of the central government has consistently been that interstate disputes can be resolved only with the cooperation of the state governments concerned, and that the central government acts only as a facilitator for amicable settlement of the dispute in the spirit of mutual understanding. The gun battle led the opposition to attack the centre.
केंद्र सरकार और राज्य सरकारों की लापरवाही के कारण आज दोनों राज्यों के बीच में तनाव और हिंसा का वातावरण बन गया है। तो इंटेलिजेंस फेलियर है, कोऑर्डिनेशन है और ये सामूहिक रूप से एक व्यर्थता जो है उसके लिए गृह मंत्री जिम्मेवारी कबूल करें और अपने पद से इस्तीफा दें।
For now, an uneasy peace prevails at the state border, with the CRPF, a paramilitary force, taking over all disputed points for now. With Ratnadeep Chaudhary in Silchar and Himanshu Shekhar in Delhi, Rohit Wellington for NDTV.
Well, breaking news just coming in. The current Home Minister of Karnataka is the new Chief Minister of Karnataka. Let's go across to Maya for the latest and Akhilesh. Maya, what are you hearing as that MLA's meeting has just ended?
Well, the MLA's meeting on behind me at the Capital Hotel in Bengaluru, and what is coming out from there is that Basavaraj Bommai, the Lingayat Home Minister of Karnataka, Basavaraj Bommai, who was Home Minister in B.S. Yediyurappa's cabinet. We're hearing his name was just announced by B.S. Yediyurappa himself. Now, he is close to B.S. Yediyurappa, and there was a question of whether that would be an advantage or a disadvantage. But we are now hearing that apart from the official announcement, not yet officially announced, but we are hearing that this meeting presided over by central observers and Arun Singh, the state's chief in charge, and all of the legislators of the BJP here. We could perhaps get you a closer glimpse there of people waiting outside. But we are hearing now that from inside, Basavaraj Bommai, the Lingayat leader, has been elected as the head and will be Chief Minister of Karnataka, is the news that is coming now. We're still waiting for that official confirmation, though. As a Lingayat leader, that should keep the Lingayats happy. A hugely powerful voting bloc, really, that had backed Yediyurappa even until the last minute. They would be happy, presumably, that another Lingayat takes over from him. That, of course, remains the question as to what Yediyurappa's role will be in the future. But what we are hearing now, and we'll be heading in soon to get more details, what we're hearing now is that apart from the official announcement, it's all over, bar the shouting. We are hearing that this has happened. The media has actually gone inside, so we will also be heading inside right away to see what's going on.
So I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to let you go and head inside. But breaking there right now on NDTV that B.S. Yediyurappa has proposed his name, and Basavaraj Bommai, a key Lingayat leader, the current Home Minister of Karnataka, will be the new Chief Minister. So the video there we can see B.S. Yediyurappa there, as we can see. But let me just ask you, Akhilesh, so in that sense, the High Command has actually given a face saver for Mr. Yediyurappa, because Mr. Bommai is, of course, a close confidant of Mr. Yediyurappa and also a powerful Lingayat leader.
That's right, Sonia. In fact, it was Mr. Yediyurappa who insisted that his successor should be from Lingayat caste only. And the party High Command, he actually has kept the caste equations in his mind, because party knows it very well that the Lingayat votes, which constitute around 17% in Karnataka, are very crucial for the BJP if it wants to come back to power once again. And BJP has managed to get the Lingayat votes in its fold after a very long time, and that was thanks to Mr. Yediyurappa. So BJP, of course, did not want to annoy the Lingayat community. We had seen in the past that how various saints belonging to the Lingayat community, they had actually protested that why Mr. Yediyurappa is being removed. So BJP had to keep this fact in mind, and that is why Mr. Basavaraj Bommai, who was a close confidant of Mr. Yediyurappa, has been given the preference. Though there was a speculation that BJP would like to prefer merit and would like to hand over the baton to somebody who is new, who has more experience in governance. But despite that, BJP decided to go ahead with the conventional wisdom, which is to respect the caste sentiment in Karnataka, and party has to, go for Mr. Bommai's name.
In fact, we can see there those visuals there of B.S. Yediyurappa hugging his successor, Mr. Bommai. So a smooth transition, but not really the change that perhaps was being expected there, in a sense that much debate about whether it would be a possible younger leader, and also whether it would be, names that are being considered were even Brahmin leaders like Mr. B.L. Santosh, Mr. Prahlad Joshi. So in this sense, the BJP playing it safe there in its first South Indian state which is in power.
Absolutely, and BJP knows it very well that the elections are just 2 years away, and party has to deliver on the front of governance. BJP has realized that on the governance front, Mr. Yediyurappa has failed to deliver. He was constantly facing corruption charges, and there's a larger story behind Mr. Yediyurappa's resignation. We have reported that how not on July 16th, when he came to meet the Prime Minister, he offered his resignation on health grounds. In fact, on July 10th, he had sent an emissary to the Prime Minister who had a meeting with the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and in that meeting, that emissary close to Mr. Yediyurappa had actually handed over Mr. Yediyurappa's resignation. So in fact, on July 16th, when Mr. Yediyurappa had a meeting with the Prime Minister, that time he was trying to buy some more time for him. He was urging that he should be given some more time, he should be allowed to continue till the Independence Day, so that he can actually unfurl the tricolour. This all logics were given by Mr. Yediyurappa, but actually he was not given any time. And the party made it very clear that as soon as he completes 2 years of his present term, he should resign, and that is why yesterday he had to resign.
Yediyurappa ji has been Bharatiya Janata Party in Karnataka, spending in a way half a century, decades of continuous support by Yediyurappa ji and team. Bharatiya Janata Party is in this place today. The Bharatiya Janata Party generational shift is a continuous process. Few days back, Honorable Yediyurappa ji met central leader, Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Party President, and all other senior leaders. He expressed his willingness to voluntarily step down from this responsibility. The party has given him this responsibility, and due to his towering personality, party also expand its base in all villages of Karnataka. Yediyurappa ji is continue to guide Bharatiya Janata Party, our school of thought, as a humble party worker. Today, parliamentary board and all the senior leaders of Karnataka state has unanimously elected new legislative party leader, Sri Basavaraj Bommai ji. Bommai ji is a very experienced and senior political personality in Karnataka. He hails from a political family, and his illustrious father has led this country as education minister, as chief minister of Karnataka, and different responsibility of Karnataka.
There is a central observer announcing Mr. Bommai's name as the next Chief Minister of Karnataka. Srinivasan Jain also joining us with Akhilesh for more. So, Srinivasan, in a sense, Mr. Bommai then ticking all the boxes, the son of a former Chief Minister, a senior Lingayat leader, and also importantly a confidant of Mr. B.S. Yediyurappa.
Absolutely, Sonia. It's very interesting actually that ultimately the BJP has settled on Basavaraj Bommai. Remember, Mr. Bommai now is most likely the second quote-unquote outsider to become a BJP chief minister. He's actually from the Janata Dal tradition. As we know, his father, the late S.R. Bommai, was one of the founders of the Janata Dal in Karnataka, and Mr. Bommai joined the BJP only about 8 or 10 years ago. So in that sense, it's quite remarkable how he's risen within the party and has ended up as the BJP's first choice. I was talking to a BJP functionary in Karnataka earlier this afternoon, and when I mentioned Mr. Bommai's name, he scoffed, saying, we don't even consider Mr. Bommai to be from the BJP. But obviously, what weighed in his favor were the factors you mentioned, most importantly, the fact that he's a Linkayat, but also that he's a confidant of Mr. Yediyurappa, which gives you an indication that even though Mr. Yediyurappa himself has stepped aside, there will still be, in a sense, the shadow of Mr. Yediyurappa that continues to play a role in Karnataka's political space, given that in a sense it's his nominee who's been picked by the BJP.
It's interesting, Akhilesh, because in that sense, of course, there has been much speculation on, say, not with the, I wouldn't say strain, but relations between the BJP in the centre and Mr. Yediyurappa, seen as two independent a leader in his own right, not necessarily reliant on Mr. Modi or Mr. Shah or even Mr. Santosh for his popularity. But we are seeing that in that sense his legacy is sustained rather than picking somebody who would be much more, say, a central choice. So careful balancing act by the BJP there.
That's right, Sonia. In fact, Mr. Yediyurappa's relation with the party's central high command never have been, cordial. We have seen that how Mr. Yediyurappa has been always defiant and never followed any diktat from the central leadership. He was a man of his own, and though he had faced allegations of corruption in the past, but he had, managed to storm that out. He had managed to fight it out. And in fact, this meeting with the Prime Minister on July 16, there are people who are saying that this meeting was between the two leaders after almost a decade when they had a one-on-one meeting. So that shows that, in fact, he never had that kind of relationship with the party's high command. But of course, Mr. Yediyurappa continues to play a bigger role in the state BJP. He has himself told the media persons when he had a meeting with the party president JP Nadda that his goal is to bring the BJP in power on his own in Karnataka, and he'll continue to work for the party. But it is unlikely, Sonia, because his health is not on his side. He's already 78 years old, and his priority his immediate priority right now is to his two sons. He wants to ensure a better future for both of them, and that is why he will try to remain active in the BJP as long as his future of his sons is secure.
Right, and Vasu, also in that sense, with Mr. Bommai becoming the new chief minister, the whole question of, say, a complete overhaul of the cabinet, a new look, minus Yediyurappa with the corruption taint gone, that's not really going to happen with his home minister in that sense, now elevated to the top post. So in that sense, it's very much a continuation of Mr. Yediyurappa's legacy right here as we speak.
That's right. I mean, as we see Mr. Bommai there, in the middle of a media scrum being congratulated by other BJP leaders, it is worth noting, as I pointed out, that Mr. Yediyurappa's imprint is not going to go away that easily. Obviously, though the BJP, as you mentioned, was giving every indication that they wanted to make a clean break from the Yediyurappa era, they have ended up plumping for a Yediyurappa loyalist, which gives you an indication how much Mr. Yediyurappa still continues to hold sway within Karnataka's politics and also amongst the BJP MLAs, which is perhaps what led the BJP finally to concede Mr. Yediyurappa's first choice, even though, as I pointed out, Sonia, that Mr. Bommai is not from the BJP traditionally. He is from very much the Janata Dal stream of politics in Karnataka, and also, Sonia, he is a dynast. He is the son of S.R. Bommai. So for the BJP, a party which repeatedly says that they are not in favor of promoting dynastic politics, have ended up actually appointing someone who is in fact a dynast. So once again, as I said, it shows you that for all their attempts to try and break away from the old and bring in a new face or a new look in Karnataka, perhaps they've ended up going for a safer choice, someone who is not likely to rock the boat and perhaps create any kind of turmoil. Because remember, Sonia, even now the BJP has a very slim majority in Karnataka, made up of a large number of imports from other parties, particularly the Janata Dal, and I think perhaps they felt a safer bet. Someone like Bommai, who enjoys the confidence of Yediyurappa, will ensure that the flock remains together.
Interestingly, of course, Srinivasan, yesterday you had in your show very strong BJP voices against Mr. Yediyurappa and saying that the son's interference in the government had actually led to a complete non-performing government, in a sense that Mr. Yediyurappa himself is a non-performing chief minister. Will the very vocal dissidence amongst BJP MLAs against Mr. Yediyurappa now die down with Mr. Bommai in place?
Well, that is something that remains to be seen, Sonia, because the very sharp attack on Mr. Yediyurappa stemmed from factors which were fairly specific to him. One, the fact that he is increasingly of an advanced age and almost infirm, not able to really run the show. Second, the fact that Mr. Yediyurappa was aggressively promoting his own son, who was interfering in all matters of government. So in that sense, these are factors, hopefully, that will not come along with Mr. Bommai. He is, of course, much younger than Mr. Yediyurappa, and also there doesn't appear to be, at least at the moment, any kind of second generation of Bommai dynasty which is likely to be promoted. So in that sense, it is likely to perhaps cool down some of the attack on Mr. Yediyurappa. But the big challenge, Sonia, for Mr. Bommai will be to basically steer Karnataka out of these past 2 years of troubled waters, of uncertainty, and you know, frankly, governance, I wouldn't go as far as to say failures, but serious questions over the manner of governance. And I think those are going to be the big challenges for him. One, to maintain a steady ship, to hold the ship together, given the slim majority the BJP has, and the fact that you have a fairly aggressive Congress unit there, headed by the likes of DK Shiv Kumar. And two, to try and get governance, pandemic control back on track in Karnataka.
No, and of course, an interesting bit perhaps is that the BJP wasn't an out-of-the-box choice, but in that sense, an expected choice, now surprising everyone. And Mr. Bommai there in his early 60s, and of course, confidant of Mr. Yediyurappa. But let's see, confidants have a way of growing into their own once they're actually in the Chief Minister's chair. So thanks so much, Srinivasan, Akhilesh, for the latest updates. Let's just go across to the other big headline, and Mariam joins us for more. This is on the International Monetary Fund actually slashing India's growth forecast for the year 2021-22. So very interesting projections there by the IMF. Mariam, give us the highlights.
Yes, Sonia. So the IMF released their World Economic Outlook report just today, which slashed down India's growth projections for the current fiscal year significantly. From about 12.5% is what they had said the growth would be for this year in April, and they've slashed that down to 9.5% for the current fiscal year now. What more drastically, what this could mean is that if the current growth forecast stands true, if IMF's growth forecast stand true, then we would have lost over 10% of GDP in the last two pandemic years. If there was no pandemic, then India would have grown at a normal pre-pandemic growth rate of about 6%. And now the pandemic has set back India by about 10.9% in GDP. So this shows that IMF has slashed down India's growth projections by about 3 percentage points. This is the largest drop in growth projections for any of the countries listed in the reports. You have multiple countries listed there, like some countries like United Kingdom, Brazil, Mexico, USA, etc. have had their growth forecasts revised up for the year, but others like China, Japan and India has seen their growth forecasts revised down, and India is at the bottom of that list. It has seen the steepest downward revision in their growth forecasts for the year. And as some countries have seen their growth projections revised up and others have revised it down, the global growth projections are expected to remain the same for the current year at about 6%. Now, in what can be seen as some good news for India, the growth projections for the next fiscal year, Sonia, has been revised up by about 1.6 percentage points, from about 6.9% to 8.5%. But this still might not be enough to make up for that steep drop of 3 percentage points in growth that is expected for this year.
Right. Mariam, thanks so much. So, well, gloomy predictions there with the effect of the second pandemic, but well, India is still on the top of major emerging economies. But of course, this IMF forecast and soon India's GDP growth rate, which will also be out, likely to determine now the government's actions in the next few days and months. But let's just look at the latest COVID numbers. Well, we're under 30,000. That's the lowest in 132 days. So that's some good news. The deaths in the last 24 hours are also down at 415. The testing is up. The vaccinations, and this really is a major thing, is as of 6 o'clock this evening is at just over 35 lakhs. That's down majorly from yesterday. The daily positivity rate is 1.73%. But the big focus, as Health Ministry officials and senior doctors warn today, is the worry about the R rate, that's the infection rate rising, and the fact that both in Kerala and the Northeast, active cases are actually growing. So the Health Ministry has warned that the virus may be that we may be tired, but the virus is not, and we need to be very, very careful on any festival celebrations and even on reopening of schools.
A rush of visitors at an Ujjain temple, compounded by visiting VIPs. This mockery of COVID precautions is exactly what the centres and other health experts are desperately warning against.
ट्रैवल फालतू में नहीं करने की ज़रूरत, थोड़े दिन रुक सकते हैं, भीड़ नहीं करने की ज़रूरत, मास गैदरिंग का कोई अभी टाइम नहीं है, लार्ज स्केल फेस्टिविटीज़ का अभी कोई टाइम नहीं है.
The centre today pointed out that cases have begun rising in 22 districts in Kerala and states in the northeast.
We may be tired, but virus is perhaps not tired. तो ये एक alert है हमारे लिए. Again, it shows that virus replication is going on, chains of transmission are going on. Fact is that when there is so much of virus replication, there are problems, variants can emerge.
Worryingly, the reproduction number, which indicates the spread of COVID infections, has risen sharply. For all India, it's 0.99 today compared to 0.84 just 20 days ago. Above 1 indicates that cases are spreading, and Kerala's R number has remained above this level. Delhi's R number has seen the steepest increase above big states, although it's a shade below the danger mark of 1. In comparison, Maharashtra's R number has seen a dip. On reopening schools, the government said it's up to the states, but admitted it's a tough call.
But as you would appreciate, it is tightrope walking. It is not easy to, to expose. It's not an easy decision.
The government said that private sector vaccine centres, which have only administered 7% of all vaccines despite procuring 25% of the supply, need more time to become efficient.
At this crucial juncture, when cases are again rising in certain areas and COVID restrictions are being eased, vaccination will be key. Waiting at this point for the private players to become more efficient may be a gamble. With Xavier Thomas, Meher Pandey for NDTV.
And now let's go across to, well, a special guest from Mumbai, a 26-year-old doctor, Dr. Shrishti Halari, who's got corona 3 times in 13 months. Dr. Halari joins me now this evening. Dr. Halari, tell us about the 3 times you tested positive, because 2 of those times is after you were vaccinated twice.
The first time that I tested positive was when I was working in Veer Savarkar Hospital in Mulund. So I was constantly exposed to the COVID virus and I tested positive at that time. After one of my colleagues tested positive and I came in contact with him. So he was not wearing a mask and we were not wearing a mask while sharing a meal. And he tested positive after that. So after that was quite explainable. But the second time that I tested positive is still a mystery to me, because I stopped my work after the 3 months of COVID duty since I was preparing for my post-graduation.
Right.
I tested positive second time on 29th May. So that was really a mystery. I did not go out anywhere. I always used to wear an N95 mask even while going down the lift of my building. But I did go to the hospital once because my mom's health was not good. So maybe I got the virus from there. I can't say for sure. And the third time, as my treating doctor, Dr. Mehul Thakkar, has said it already, that it could be a reactivation of my previous infection. Maybe the virus was latent in my body and it just waited for the opportunity when my immunity levels were low and it struck again.
So in fact, Dr. Halari, in that case, you're almost a test case of somebody who's got this virus thrice, but I'm glad to see that you're looking well. Were any of these serious? Because I heard that you actually had to go into hospital as well the third time, despite having quite high antibodies.
Yeah, I did go to the hospital. I mean, we were hospitalized. Actually, we lost a family member due to COVID. So our family is taking COVID quite seriously after that. So once we started developing symptoms, like my mom was the one who developed symptoms first in July. Since she is diabetic, we did not want to take any chances. We wanted her to get the best treatment and as soon as possible. So we admitted her in the hospital. After that, I tested positive, and my brother and my father also tested positive. My brother is also diabetic, and my father has hypertension. Again, not taking any risk, we decided to admit them. Since I was alone at home, my dad is like, "Yeah, you also get admitted. What are you going to do alone at home?" So even I got admitted, and since there was a slight possibility that the virus was a reactivation of my old one, we wanted to eliminate it from my body. So we started on Remdesivir.
So in fact, Dr. Shrishti, the third time you tested positive was 45 days after your second test. So perhaps that means the virus, even a reactivation, can stay on so long. So maybe it's not a separate infection. But the good news is that with your vaccinations, it was all 3 times mild for you.
Yeah, because of the vaccination, the virus never entered my lung and gone through multiple X-rays and HRCTs, but then they were always clear. And even for my family, it was always clear. So I would urge everyone to go for vaccination, despite hearing my story that, yeah, even after getting the vaccine, I got the virus twice. So everybody just get vaccinated, guys. It's very important.
I think that's a very important message, Dr. Shrishti. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, well, maybe you'll go down as testing positive thrice, but the big news is that you're well, you're smiling, and that's because you got both doses of the vaccine. Thank you so much for joining us. Parliament once again largely paralyzed today with 10 adjournments in Lok Sabha. Only question and zero hour briefly taken up, but no bills discussed or passed. One bill on marine navigation was discussed and passed in the Rajya Sabha. The Prime Minister, speaking to BJP MPs today, said that MPs must take up the fact that this is a Congress plan for disruption and that Parliament and legislative work was being disrupted by the opposition. Let's just look at the ruckus today. The opposition is agitating for discussions on the Pegasus phone hacking scandal as well as on farmers' issues and fuel prices. Repeated adjournments in both houses, and also there was a meeting of opposition floor leaders today, including Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, the NCP's Supriya Sule and others, where they have decided that they will present a united letter tomorrow to the government, and identical notices by all floor leaders will be given in the House tomorrow on the Pegasus issue. The government has informally conveyed that they're ready to discuss all issues except Pegasus. Meanwhile, today also, West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee is in Delhi as part of a national mission before the 2024 elections. She met with Prime Minister Modi today, their first meeting after the acrimonious Bengal campaign, and she's also meeting Congress leader Sonia Gandhi tomorrow.
The most high-profile meeting of West Bengal Chief Minister's Delhi Yatra, a one-on-one with the Prime Minister. According to Ms. Banerjee, though the two leaders, fierce political rivals, talked mainly about COVID.
वो टोटली कार्टिसी विजिट है, लेकिन कार्टिसी विजिट का साथ साथ में मैंने कोविड के बारे में थोड़ा चर्चा किया कि कोविड में हमारा जो वैक्सीन मिला है इसमें थोड़ा और ज्यादा हमारा चाहिए, इसी के लिए एक दफे भेंट करने पड़ता ही है सब, ये हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का मुताबिक एक प्रोटोकॉल होता है.
But the schedule of the rest of the 5-day visit appears to be clearly to bolster an effective challenge to Mr. Modi's government, as she met a string of opposition leaders like Kamal Nath and Anand Sharma at her nephew Abhishek Banerjee's residence. When asked if she is positioning herself as the leader of the opposition front, this was her response.
No, country will lead. We are the followers.
The Congress leaders claim the final say on the tie-up with the Trinamool is up to Sonia Gandhi, also on Ms. Banerjee's meeting schedule.
जो भी कोई निर्णय होते हैं, मैं कांग्रेस पार्टी का सदस्य हूं, वो श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी हमारी नेता है, कांग्रेस पार्टी की प्रेसिडेंट है, वही वो बातचीत करेंगी मेरे ख्याल से ममता जी, और वो कल मिल रहे हैं.
Taking a dig at Ms. Banerjee's Delhi visit, the West Bengal BJP president called it a political tourism.
2019 में उन्होंने किया था, सारे विपक्ष के नेता को कलकत्ता बुला के ब्रिगेड में सभा भी किया था, लेकिन नतीजा क्या निकला? मोदी जी 282 से 303 हो गए, कई पार्टी का खत्म हो गया, प्रतिनिधि नहीं है लोकसभा में, उनकी भी 12 सीट कम हो गई है, और इसीलिए अगले चुनाव और भी खतरनाक होगा उनके लिए.
Mamata Banerjee was given a clarion call for the opposition parties to get united to defeat BJP in the 2024 general elections, is all scheduled to meet Congress President Sonia Gandhi, NCP Chief Sharad Pawar, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal and SP Chief Akhilesh Yadav in the next 2 days. With camera person Ashok Mahale and Rajiv Ranjan, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in India this evening on a 2-day visit. He has an extensive agenda featuring a rapidly evolving security situation in Afghanistan and boosting Indo-Pacific engagement, as well as ways to enhance COVID-19 response efforts. It will be Mr. Blinken's first visit to India after assuming charge as the US Secretary of State, and the third by a high-ranking Biden administration official after the new government came to power in January. Well, a quick look at other news. Delhi recorded its highest one-day rainfall in years since 2003. So, as usual, the impact was felt straight away on roads and traffic.
For the second time in 1 week, the national capital woke up to very heavy rain, this time setting a record of 100 mm in 3 hours, the heaviest since 2003.
पानी भर रहा है, इससे ज़्यादा यहाँ पे ITO सबसे बिजीएस्ट जो है ये रोड है, बट यहाँ पे कोई सुविधा नहीं है, इनकी वजह से पब्लिक को सफ़र करना पड़ता है बस, और कुछ नहीं। तो इनको ये हर बारी का है, तब भी यहाँ पे कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं कर रखी।
In some areas, water flooded into buses, with passengers trying balancing acts to keep themselves dry, while some took to social media to share pictures of waterlogging. Similar scenes in Gurugram, which saw 68 mm of rainfall in 4 hours. Sarhol Chowk, among other areas, saw waterlogging and traffic jams.
पिछले हफ्ते भी प्रॉब्लम हुआ था जब पिछले हफ्ते बारिश हुई थी, ऐसा ही होता है हर साल।
ये तो बंद हो जाता है इतने में, हाँ बंद हो जाएगा, अगर जाएंगे ना इसमें बंद हो जाएगा।
क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम आई है आपको?
मोटर फूक जाएगा या कंट्रोलर चला जाएगा, और मैं यहाँ से गया था ना, जैसे पिछली बारिश हुई थी तो उसमें खत्म हो गया था।
The Delhi and Gurugram traffic police took to social media through the day advising commuters.
Intense spells of rainfall this Tuesday morning makes it for Delhi's heaviest rainfall this season, leading to traffic snarls, diversion in traffic movement, affecting metro services and waterlogging several parts of the city. But this also comes as a respite. With my colleague Meher Pandey and camera person Sushil Rathi in Delhi, Shanakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.
Well, let's go back now to our breaking news story from Karnataka. The new Chief Minister will be current Home Minister and Lingayat leader Basavaraj Bommai. Let's just hear what he had to say.
Was it a total shock for you? Huh? Did you know about this or was it a total shock?
No, it was really, I never expected it. I never expected it. But however, I had a belief in my hard work and it has paid.
Yeah, unanimously elected Basavaraj Bommai as Legislative Party leader. You're all very happy, and only in BJP such things will be happen. Dharmendra Pradhanji, as in his leadership, you have elected him, and I will congratulate Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji for his support and all other things. And in his leadership, definitely he will work hard. Thank you.
There are a lot of challenges as far as the scene is concerned. There was so much tactic for happening. Now Basavaraj Bommai is your
unanimously elected Basavaraj Bommai ji. Other thing does not arise now.
So, smooth transition of power there, Maya. So, really in that sense, Mr. Bommai seen as Mr. Yediyurappa's choice now to be the new Chief Minister.
Absolutely. Well, that is some good news for B.S. Yediyurappa himself. Bommai's closeness to him, there was a question whether that would work in his favour or against his favour. But that announcement made here, you can still see the atmosphere at this hotel where the announcement was made. That announcement made of Yediyurappa's right-hand man becoming his successor. Another Lingayat, which should also keep that valuable vote bank for the BJP happy. Bommai is also non-controversial, the son of the former Chief Minister himself. And when we spoke to him a short while ago, he said it was a huge responsibility and also that he wasn't really expecting this to happen, that it was totally out of the blue is what he said. So continuation in some ways, in the sense it is somebody close to B.S. Yediyurappa who has taken over. We spoke also to Dr. Sudhakar, one of the former Congress MLAs who became a minister in Yediyurappa's government. He also said there's stability, it is going to be smooth riding. We spoke to the BJP state president, Nalin Kumar Katil, and R. Ashok as well. And Ashok saying he was very, very happy indeed with the choice. And of course, the buzz here this evening, the expectation this evening ahead of the announcement was absolutely huge at this hotel where the meeting took place. There was, of course, a feeling that the name had already been decided, that the legislative meeting was really to show that democracy was in place. But the leadership announcing Basavaraj Bommai as B.S. Yediyurappa's successor to be sworn in tomorrow is what we're hearing right now. Home Minister of B.S. Yediyurappa taking over from Yediyurappa himself and becoming the next Chief Minister of Karnataka after days of suspense as to whether B.S. Yediyurappa would step down or not. Bommai will be his replacement.
Right, Miles, very fast-paced developments then. 24 hours ago, Mr. Yediyurappa broke down, was emotional and resigned. And today, all smiles there as, in a sense, his close confidant, Mr. Bommai, is now the new Chief Minister. Exciting times in Karnataka as usual. Thanks so much, Maya, for that update.